What is up, everybody? Random Man here, bringing you my quick thoughts on this year's Academy Awards ceremony. The 2019 Oscars just wrapped up moments ago, and I wanted to give my brief opinions on the ceremony itself and some of the award wins. Now, as it has been heavily publicized in the past month, there was no host at this year's ceremony. This hasn't happened for 30 years. The last time there was no host at the Oscars was in 1989. But the way the show ran, I thought it ran a lot smoother than some of past years. There was a lot more focus in getting the awards presented and little shenanigans in between the awards and commercial breaks. I'm not saying that the Oscars should go without a host next time or in the future, but I think that this should be a huge note for future producers of the show and future hosts to keep in mind that the focus should be on the awards and also just celebrating film as a whole. The show ran for a little over 3 hours. That was a little over than the runtime that they were projecting that the show would go for, but it didn't run nearly as long as last year's. Last year's ceremony ran almost at 4 hours, like 3 hours and 56 minutes, I believe. That's really close to 4 hours. And this year it was just a little over 3. So that just showed that having no host alone shortened the runtime of the telecast. Now, as for the awards, all 24 categories were presented as promised, yet I didn't cover all 24 categories in my previous video. As some of you may know, my previous video was the predictions and preferences video to this year's Oscar nominations, and I'm not going to run down which categories I got right and wrong individually because I got a lot of the secondary/technical categories incorrect. I'm going to cover the major ones. And overall, I was pretty pleased with the wins, and I did get most of the major categories correct, with the big exception of 2 categories, those being Best Actress and Best Picture. Best Actress, I did think it would go to Glenn Close for The Wife, but it went to Olivia Colman for The Favorite. That was such an amazing surprise that threw off my ballot for the major categories, but that was such an awesome win. I was afraid that The Favorite was going to go without any award as the ceremony kept progressing because it lost Best Original Screenplay and some of the other technical categories that I predicted that it would win, but that was just so cool, and she was herself pretty surprised that she won. And then the other major category I did get incorrect is the big one, Best Picture. I thought it would go to Roma, but it went to Green Book, which, as I said in my predictions and preferences video, I wasn't going to be that surprised if Green Book would end up taking it because it's a crowd pleaser. A lot of people who have seen it have loved it, myself included. It was one of my favorite movies of 2018. And again, I can really see the appeal as to why it won. And I think the preferential ballot really was pushing it in its favor. This win certainly is not going to be embraced by everybody. Already I see some backlash happening with Green Book taking home the top prize. One person has already referred to it as the worst Best Picture winner since Crash, another race-related film, and I wouldn't go that far because, again, I personally did love the movie. And then there was another person that said we really are back in 1989 because that was when Driving Miss Daisy won Best Picture, I believe. And a lot of people have referred to Green Book as reverse Driving Miss Daisy. And yeah, this just goes to show the subjectivity of movies anyway. Again, as I've mentioned time and time again before, awards do not mean shit in retrospect. Like, really, we should celebrate film as a whole, and we don't need awards to validate our opinion for a movie that we love or adore. One thing that I did think was cool was that the Oscars this year were pretty democratic in handing out at least one trophy for every Best Picture nominee. All 8 of this year's Best Picture nominees did walk away with at least 1 Oscar statue. Black Panther walked away with 3 Oscars, Best Costume Design, Best Production Design, and Best Original Score. Black Klansman walked away with 1 Best Adapted Screenplay. Spike Lee looked so happy getting up there on stage. That was one of the really most deserved wins of the night. Bohemian Rhapsody won 4 Oscars, more than I even expected it to win at all. I think that was the most awarded movie of the night. I did predict Rami Malek's win for Best Actor correctly, but I did not expect it to win Best Film Editing. 2 categories that I did not cover in my previous video, Best Sound Editing and Best Sound Mixing. I did not expect this film to win those either, but again, subjectivity with all of these awards and what we thought of these movies in the first place. So there's that. Then we have The Favorite, which I was afraid it was not going to walk away with anything tonight with how it lost Best Original Screenplay to Green Book. And speaking of Green Book, it won that award, Best Supporting Actor for Mahershala Ali, and Best Picture, as I mentioned before. But again, The Favorite did walk away with Best Actress for Olivia Colman. Roma, my favorite movie of 2018, did walk away with 3 awards, Best Foreign Language Film, Best Cinematography, and Best Director for Alfonso Cuarón. This is the first time that a Mexican film has won Best Foreign Language Film. This is the first time Best Director has gone to a filmmaker who directed a foreign language film, which I think that's amazing. History was made with Roma and those wins. What's also worth celebrating is that 5 out of the 6 most recent Best Director winners have all been Mexican filmmakers. Wow, that gives my Mexican heritage in me so much pride. Órale, viva Mexico! And then the final 2 Best Picture nominees, A Star is Born and Vice, both of those also walked away with 1 award apiece. A Star is Born walked away with Best Original Song for Shallow. That was one of the biggest locks of the night, so well deserved. Lady Gaga finally has an Oscar, even if she didn't win Best Actress. And then Vice walked away with Best Makeup and Hairstyling. So yeah, like I said, I thought that was pretty nice that all 8 Best Picture nominees did walk away with at least 1 win each. I don't think this happened since 2015, actually, where Birdman, that won Best Picture 4 years ago, but the rest of the Best Picture nominees did walk away with 1 Oscar each. Other wins I was pretty happy to see were Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse winning Best Animated Feature. That was another one of this year's locks in terms of Oscar wins, but I was just so happy that my favorite animated film of 2018 did end up winning that prize. And then also First Man, one of the secondary categories I did get incorrect was Best Visual Effects, and First Man ended up taking that category. And yeah, I was just so pleased with that because First Man, I felt, was really getting shafted in terms of getting recognized across awards season, aside from Best Original Score at the Critics' Choice Awards and Golden Globes, which it didn't end up getting nominated for Best Original Score at the Oscars. Still, it did get recognized with 1 Oscar. Oh yeah, and another category before I forget and wrap this up. Best Documentary Feature, it did end up going to Free Solo. I did predict RBG, but that's another category I got incorrect. But I'm so happy that Free Solo got the win. Should have been Won't You Be My Neighbor, but I'm gonna let that go because Mr. Rogers would want me to do the same. So there you have it. There are my thoughts on this year's Oscars. As they always say, until next year for award season, and I just cannot wait to see what the rest of 2019 has in store for film. And then again, we'll get into award season again next year. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of this year's Academy Awards. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.